Hi everyone, welcome back to the 12 o'clock channel. I haven't been updating the channel for a while now, and it's mainly due to my laziness. But today, I'm here to introduce a watch that's so fantastic that I got off my lazy butt and did this video for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. The piece I have here is a collaboration between Squale and Whatawatches in South Korea. As you can see, it's a vintage-inspired diver. Vintage-inspired divers are diving a dozen these days. However, this one has a few special things about it that makes it stand out from the rest of the crowd. So I bought this watch with my own money, so this is not a sponsored review or a paid review in any way. So you can be assured that this is my own opinion and 100% honest. So a little bit of history of Squale, or my understanding of their history. So they are one of the two largest dive case makers in the 1950s and 60s. And they make cases for companies like Blancpain and a few other smaller ones I can't think of right now. So they're professionals at making diver cases. And this particular case, the Subino 39 case, released by Squale in the last year, I believe, harkens back to the 1950s cases that they made for Blancpain. So this limited edition, unlike many other limited editions, which would just change the dial and kept the same case and movement and hands, etc. Right? So this limited edition from Whatawatches actually made modifications to the Subino 39 case that was released by Squale, and made it, to me, they made it better. So one of the biggest modifications they made was the lug width. So the existing sub 39 cases released by Squale has a 22 millimeter lug width for a basically 40 millimeter diameter watch. Right? They call it sub 39 because the case diameter is 39 millimeter. But as you can see, focus, the bezel actually flares out to around 40.5 millimeters, right? So basically they have a very wide lug width for a small case, which gives up a substantial look. So the other watch I can think of that does that is the Tudor BB58, the standard full-size BB58 cases. They have 41 millimeter case diameter and a 22 millimeter lug width. And that makes the watch actually look much more substantial. So what Whatawatches requested was to reduce the lug width down to 20 millimeters. So you can see it's give us a much more slimmer and smaller dimensions. Slimmer dimensions, and to me, it fits the watch better. It doesn't look chunky. The other point they made, or the other change they made, was to reduce the lug-to-lug width. I believe they took off 1 millimeter from each side. So this is 47 millimeter at the moment. So it actually wears better than the standard sub 39 case from Squale. They also made, they also angled the lugs down by a degree. I'm not sure how much that has changed the look of the case, but all in all, this wears really well due to those changes, mainly the lug width and also the shorter lug-to-lug distance. So I praise Whatawatches for that. Normally, when people do a collaboration, all they do is just change the dial colors and or maybe even change the handset. But what they have done here is modifying the case, which will add to the cost. But this is only, I believe this is only around $300 US dollars, more than the standard Sub 39 case watches. So I could be wrong, but don't quote me on that yet. But it's only a minimal change in the price. The other thing that's really nice about this watch is the dial design. As you can see, it's vintage inspired and does not have a date, so it keeps the symmetry of the dial. The date, you can actually feel a ghost position in the crown, but I could not feel the date changing as I go through it in the ghost position. So I believe there's no date disc in there. I'm sure a lot of people will not like the ghost position, but it hasn't affected me. I'm fine with it as long as there's no like date disc in there. Some companies keeps the date disc in there, so you can feel the click as you go through it. You can feel the date change, but I believe they have taken the date disc out in this one. The other thing is it has the standard 2 Squale logo dial. I don't mind it. I actually like the smiley face or the shark logo they have at 6 o'clock. It also has a line of text which says Corso Italiano. I mean, it's just some form of labeling for the limited edition. I don't mind it. It's very small. It's non-obtrusive. If you don't like double logo of Squale, you probably won't like the double logo here. But if you don't mind it, it's fine. The dial is very minimal, so you get 3, 6, 9, and 12 in Arabic numerals, and the rest of the markers are triangles. What I like about this is that it has all the hash marks for the seconds as well. So it's a little bit like the Stoa Petitio in some form, but if you just have a glance at the dial, you won't notice them at all. It doesn't make the dial any busier. It's a very clean design. You can see on the bezel, the minimalistic sort of design is apparent as well. So it only has hash marks at every 5 seconds, and with numerals for 15, 30, and 45. The triangle is a fully lumed triangle in orange, burnt orange, vintage burnt orange color. The lume applied to the markers on the dial and the hands are sort of creamy yellow. They are not as burnt as the triangle pip there. But they're definitely darker than, say, Tudor BB58 black dial version. It's noticeable, but I think it's well done. So the dial printing is very, very nice. It's very pristine. You can see, let me see if I can focus there. Okay, this is about as close as I can get. You can see that the lume applied are very nice, very clean. And there's a white outline to it that's also applied really cleanly. As you can see, the crystal is a sapphire crystal. It's slightly domed, but I think it has a bit more dome than, say, BB58. And what happens is, if you look at it straight on, due to that curvature, you see a sort of creamy or smoky ring around it. This gives it off a vintage vibe because all the old plexiglass crystals lost for word there. Plexiglass crystals has this kind of milky, smoky ring around it due to the distortion. Yeah, so it definitely replicates that really well. So the straps for this watch is very nice. It's from Horween in US, and it's a very thin leather strap. It's a Cordovan strap, and actually feels very nice to wear in summer as well. It's summer here in Australia at the moment, and I've been wearing this for a few days on this strap, and feels very comfortable. I mean, I don't sweat that much, but I guess if you sweat a lot, then you might want to change it out to a rubber strap or a fabric strap. But this feels very comfortable. It's soft, thin, and it fits the watch really, really well. It looks rugged, right? And the buckle here, so Whatawatch in South Korea actually went to the length of looking for a buckle that is made the traditional way, and not CNC machined. I do appreciate that, although to be honest, it's not much difference when you, well, to be honest, there's no difference in wearing it, right? But it's nice that they have gone through the effort to obtain this vintage made buckle. Oh, and other thing is this box, this presentation box. Now, this has to be one of the nicest presentation box I have seen for a watch in this price range. Let me just show you this. The box is small. It's actually tiny. And it's very well made. It's lacquered and has a small hard pillow that's wrapped in felt. Oh, sorry, not felt. I think it's suede. But it's just such a nice looking box, and has nice hardware here. Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's focused. I believe this is brass hardware. I'm not sure, but this is very nice hardware here. It has a nice snapping action to it. I'm not going to talk about the box too much, but this box is very nice for this price. The only other boxes that I have seen that's better than this is Omega's humongous wooden boxes that they do. I haven't bought anything more expensive than Omega Rolex, so I wouldn't know how Patek Philippe's boxes are like. But this is, for its price and for its style, this box really suits it. And for its price, the box is amazing. So I will just stop talking about the box now. Anyway, so what I don't like about this watch, there's only one thing I don't really like it, and that is the screw down crown. It's the most painful crown I have used so far, to be honest. Mainly due to its size and how it's made. So the entire case is polished, including the crown, right? And that's fine. It suits the style. It suits the vintage style fine. But due to it being polished, so it's hard to grip, and due to its tiny size and sharp serrated edge there, every time I screw up the crown or screw in the crown, it hurts my fingers. Now, I don't have, small fingers. I have sausage fingers. But I have never had this issue before. It actually hurts me when I do up the crown. I think if they increase the crown size, or made edge of the crown less sharp, that might help. Or if they didn't have a polished crown, now that's going to affect the aesthetics, but yeah, if they just made it larger and not as sharp, that would be much better. I guess as I do it up and unscrew and screw it in a few more times, it's gonna get easier to do so. It's a new watch, so the screw is a little bit stiff, so that might improve. But yeah, that's the only downside that I experienced with this watch. Otherwise, this is a perfect watch for me. I just want to do a quick comparison between these two watches. So they're both vintage-inspired pieces. So the Whatawatch and Squale collaboration is based on the Blancpain from the 50s, which used a Squale case. And the Tudor BB58 is based on the Tudor Big Crown Submariner. So they have a lot of similarities, as they are both vintage inspired, obviously, and they're both well sized, 39 to 40 millimeters, and historically they were both used by the French Navy. So I think French Navy used this one first, or the Blancpain first, then they moved on to the Tudor Big Crown Submariner. Now, although they have a lot of similarities, they feel very different. The Tudor has all the trademarks, visual trademarks of the Big Crown Submariner. The Tudor Big Crown Submariner has the red triangle at the pip, has gilded dials, and obviously the slightly aged lume. But on wrist, this Tudor feels really modern. The reason I think is that because the gilded markers, they are all applied, which the old Tudor Big Crown Submariner didn't have. They have painted markers. The other thing is, as you can see, the Tudor has brushed and polished surfaces that has really sharp transitions, right? So it's a very well made watch that can be only done by modern machinery. So this one feels very modern, and because of the applied markers and the nice finish, it doesn't feel that toolish, as in doesn't feel like a tool watch. It feels like a luxury watch, right? Where the Squale and the Whatawatch collaborations, it remained true to the watch that inspired this, right? So it has painted markers. It has a K1 crystal, so it's like a hardened mineral crystal for the bezel, which is trying to replicate the old Bakelite bezels, right? And the lume is a bit darker, or a bit more orange than the Tudor, so it gives off that old radium lume look a bit more. And the case, it's nicely finished, but it's not as sharp. It's not as, the transitions are not as sharp, right? And it's all polished, which really gives off that 1950s, 60s watch look, where they're limited by their machining, I guess, tolerances and machining capabilities, and you won't get a very sharp transition in those days, right? So this feels much more vintage than this one. So which one do I like better? I would say I like the Squale better, because when I'm looking into a vintage inspired diver, I'm really looking into a tool watch, right? I'm really looking for a tool watch, not a luxury watch. This feels a lot more luxurious. And the other thing is, I think if Tudor were to use white markers or white paint for their markers on their bezel, that would made the watch much nicer to wear. The whole Tudor BB58, the entire watch, the entire face of the watch, looks very warm due to this gilded, due to the gilded dial and the gold colored markers. If they have done what they have done for the BB41, so sorry, the full-size BB, where they have used the white markers or silver markers on the bezel, that will have a much better balance. As you can see here, this is orange or yellow lume for the markers, and they have stuck to white markers on the bezel. This is like the perfect balance. So all in all, I really enjoyed the Squale, and I think this will be a keeper for me. Probably depends on how I feel. I probably would keep the Squale over the Tudor, but I'm not looking to sell the Tudor at the moment anyway. So let's look at how the Squale look like on the wrist. As you can see, it doesn't look small. The sub 39 annotation for this case is really misleading, I think, because as you can see, the bezel does flare out a bit. But it's this one, due to the short lug-to-lug distance and also the smaller lug width, it wears really, really well, right? I think if my wrist circumference is 18 centimeters, and I think it fits basically perfect. You can see that the lugs, they I'll take it off and show you. The lugs, they don't turn down as much on the top surface. So you can see that they do turn down on the underside, but they're quite flat on the top, right? So it's almost like an inverse taper thing. That gives a larger wrist presence when you put it on. But because of the downturned underside, the strap, it fits well on your wrist, if you know what I mean. So it wears well, but it doesn't lose its wrist presence. That's also something I like about this. So all in all, I think this watch just wears perfectly, right? There's nothing to pick about this watch in terms of how it wears. The design as well, it's perfect. The only gripe I have with this is the bloody crown. It hurts my fingers. And it probably hurt yours too if you have average sized fingers. Yeah, but thanks to Whatawatch for doing this collaboration with Squale, because this is one of the best collaborations I've seen. They went to the length of changing the case, and that's something I haven't seen at all from other collaborators, even the larger ones. This is something out of their way, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll try to upload sooner or more frequent in future. Please click on follow, subscribe, or whatever. I can't be bothered. See you guys.